Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. My name is Greg Miller, your host. Well, we're out on Macatawa Bay at Macatawa Bay Yacht Club. We're on Bob Hughes' 52. We're going to go out and take a little bit of a cruise. We're going to get a chance later to talk to the ocean race winner, Charlie Enright. And we're going to have, as we talked about on the show, we're going to be a little more live and get a chance to see what a TP52, and I should say GL52, Great Lakes, the designation for the 52 boats are Transpac, now Great Lakes. I'm sure the Super Series has a different name. You'd be really interested to find out that the pre-conversation on a sailboat, this caliber, with all the folks they've got on it, is talking about gummy bears. Gummy bears seem to be the attraction rather than actually talking about sailing. So it turns out these guys talk about sailing the same way we do. Anyway, we'll bring you that in a few minutes and conversations with all kinds of folks. And stay tuned because I think you'll enjoy the show. We're obviously talking with Bob Hughes. Bob, the season for Great Lakes 52 starts this weekend, obviously here with a big race. You've got some additions. You've lost a couple of syndicates and stuff. Just talk a little bit about 24 in terms of the season, what you expect.
Yeah, I think everybody is super excited. If you look around the country, you won't find 6 52-foot Grand Prix sailboats at one spot like this with the type of cruise we have here. So all 6 boats are really, really well-run programs with really great boats and newer boats and the crews on board. If you look at it, it's really, really who's who's of Grand Prix sailing. So the racing's going to be fighting for every inch, and the season's only getting better. By the time we get to Mac Race and Harbor Springs, it's going to be 10 boats. So the fleet continues to grow here. I think it grows because we have a great group of owners, great venues, and the racing is so darn good. It's the place to be.
You are the 23 co-champ, and I say that with an asterisk because we chronicle what happened last year. Obviously, Victor Wild and the Fox program are out of the Great Lakes program. You've added Wizard with Charlie Enright, who was the obviously ocean race winner. That's a big addition to the race, both marquee and ability. Who's the other?
So yeah, the Hughes, which are originally from the Midwest, great sailing. The brothers there. They've had a bunch of Wizards, so they bought Ikebana, which is a great 52. So they're there with Charlie. They have a great crew on board. They'll be very formidable. And the other boat is Katana, this is a great story. The boat that won the Super Series championship last year, the season championship, was Platoon. And John Hughes from St. Louis bought the boat, brought it over here. It's an awesome boat. It's now named Katana. They've got a great crew on board too. So you have the world champion from last year now here in the Great Lakes. So arguably the fleet is bigger and better and tougher than last year because of the quality of the new boats that are here.
Fair to say the second best fleet in the world?
Yes, after the Super Series fleet, absolutely.
The other part of the conversation is that if you look 5 years ago when this fleet got off the ground, lots of 2008, 2009 Boateen boats. Now everybody's at 215, 216, 218. Everybody's upgrading and buying new boats. So obviously the competition has gotten better.
Yeah, and that's just kind of human nature. People keep pushing to get more newer boats as they become available. So some new boats being built over there in the Super Series, so that allows the 2018s to free up and people here buy them because they want to join the fleet here. So it's such a great boat. You can have this amazing race around the buoys. That race to the island to be the first one to the island. So it gives you an awesome platform to compete on.
100th Mackinac, that got to be special for you guys and everybody in the fleet.
Yeah, I mean, they're put a lot of effort into it. I think there's like 330 boats or something registered. They're doing a bit of a goofy course this year, which I kind of like the regular course, but it's going to be a great race with 1052s on the line and all those other boats and celebrating a Great Lakes tradition 100 times. That's fantastic. Hats off to Bayview.
I've asked this question before, and I'll ask it again. I probably won't get an answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Is the money spent worth the fun you get?
You have to be dumb enough to do it at this level, but you work hard so that you can do it, and you just like to compete against the best people out there. So it gives you motivation to work hard and to get a chance to compete against the best. And there could be worse things for sure.
Well, we're watching all season. We hope you have a great 24. And any predictions for you for 24?
I just know our team is going to put our best out there, and you could sail really well in this regatta and finish fourth. It's just really a tough fleet, but we're going to fight for every inch, and we're determined to show them our best.
Okay, we're back. We're going live, and we're now seeing the sail going back up. They did a huge fix on the hanks and kind of figure out what the process is. There's no furlers, obviously, on a boat like this. But it's bringing them down every day. This is a practice sail. They only use the good ones for the race days, which will happen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, coming up from Macatawa Bay. $6 grand Great Lakes 52s will race. I'm trying to get the idea for this whole thing. When it goes up, you can see them grinding, you can see all the process. But it'll be interesting to see when we probably catch wind. It's going up again. I think this time they got it right. So a little clap for that. Hopefully the head sail's coming up next. Everybody's making sure of all of their adjusting the backstays here. Split backstay we haven't seen before. I want to keep the yellow life jacket here close. One of the things that was kind of unusual, there's nobody on deck with a life jacket, which I thought was not different. I just thought it was interesting. This is the second opportunity we've had to ride on a 52, and it's been a real good experience. And hopefully we'll show you how we get going a little livelier, a little better movement. We're going to move the camera out. You can see some of the other boats out working on their process, getting used to the races. One of those is Wizard. If you're not familiar with who Charlie Enright is, Charlie is the Ocean race winner, and he'll be part of that whole thing. So we'll come back. Charlie's going to spend some time with us, hopefully at the end of the day. We'll talk a little bit about his entry into the Great Lakes 52 fleet. And the fleet just keeps getting better. We talked to Bob Hughes earlier about just the addition of a couple different people, including the Askew family, who came up with was one of the campaigns. And now the head sail is about to go up, so we'll see how that works, and we'll get back to that. I'm assuming when the head sail goes up and they find some wind here, this thing's going to take off like a big bird. Big breezes today, pretty flat, but I'm curious to see how fast it goes. Head sail is moving through. We're seeing some of the... One thing you'll notice, everybody's got a job. Everybody's got a very specific requirement of what they do, and you couldn't run this boat without that kind of orchestration. So, as it flaps, it'll catch wind here in a couple of seconds, and the grinders will bring those in. It's starting to come in now. Such way we're going to tack. It looks like we're going to be on a port tack. Hopefully this will take off. There's nothing worse than watching video where somebody's talking and nobody's doing anything. You want to be able to see what happens. And here we go. Here we go. And off we go. One of the things you feel right off the bat is the power of this boat. It doesn't take too much to move it forward. I'm going to find myself to the high side here in a second. I'm going to wait until they move. You can see the other boats coming into play here. And we'll be back. do a little practice before the big weekend takeoff of the Great Lakes 52 fleet this weekend from Macatawa Bay Yacht Club. We are out in the lake, as you guys can see. You can see the crew behind me working on the boat. It's a pretty cool deal. We are enjoying it. The big sail's going up. We're going to turn the camera around here. We're going to stay live for a little bit, see how that works out. There's the crew coming up front, so you guys will be able to see what's going on. The process of running a 52 is a whole different animal than what you and I would sail. This is a serious boat with a lot of folks on it who know what they're doing, and it'll be interesting to see just when they get the motor going and as the sail goes up, as it's doing now. I think it's pretty cool. One of the things I found interesting is the conversation is that before they decide to put the sails up, they actually have a plan. I'm wondering, sometimes most of the rest of us work through and have that opportunity to have a plan before we go out and sail and race. But this is a terrific boat, and as you can see all the way back. We're about 3/4 of a mile off the shore, just coming outside of the historic lighthouse, which is in fact right there in Holland, going into Macatawa Bay. And if you can see up and down the shoreline, it's pretty cool. Lots of housing. It's a pretty cool part of the process. You'll see the sail going up as we speak. So let's see what that looks like. There are 6 boats in the fleet this year. They dropped out last year. Bob Hughes and Heartbreaker were the co-champions. We covered a bit of the controversy as to who won and who didn't win with Victor Wilde and the Fox Syndicate last year, but they've added a number of folks this year. You can see the boys grinding to get the sail up. They're always doing a pretty cool job, and nobody ever sees this part of the race. They always see the hard part when the boats are trying to move, but this is work. This reminds me of the old style. If you look at the America Cup boats now, instead of using grinders, they're actually using bike riders who pedal bikes, because it's just better on the kinetic leg process. That sails all the way up. We're going to catch some wind here in a couple of seconds, and I'm going to stay out of the way so I don't kill anybody. So nobody kill me. Let's see where this process works. Up they go. There's even a guy to fold the old North sail bag. So everybody's got a job on this boat, and it's one of those things that happens. We're going to use some of this. I guess I got to zip up the old jacket. It's hard to believe it's the 29th of May, and we are, in fact, looking at wearing pretty much everything you own. So, for the folks at Crescent, there's our, still wearing that great Crescent junior sailing jacket. It's an amazing process just watching these guys walk through this. There's not much that isn't orchestrated, and like everything else, it's practiced, it's worked through. And they're even having little problems like we all have, but that's okay. It works. Get some idea how big that sail is. You'll also get an idea in a little while just how fast this boat is as they're sliding it. More grinding front. Getting a chance to see. I'm going to just let the action take care of itself and let these guys kind of go through their motions, and off we go. We're starting to pick up some white caps. I'm guessing it's got to be 12 to 15 today, but I'm sitting at the back of the boat so I won't bother anybody to stay out of the way. The last thing you want to do when you're on this boat is get in anybody's way, because you can lose a finger in a relatively short order. And obviously, they're still working on the head sail. You can see them trying to make sure that they get the last adjustment right, just perfect. Now it's coming down again. So we'll see why that is. So apparently see we're hanging on with everything you got. This is an incredible opportunity to get on a boat with this quality and this speed. This is a beast. I don't think this is work. These guys are professionals and know amateur stuff about these kinds of races. The scientific approach, the skill that goes with it is just absolutely amazing. And I'm hanging on for dear life, just trying to get across the back of the boat on tacks. That itself is difficult. We are talking with Charlie Enright, who is the ocean race winner of 2023. You're the first American to win it in 50 years.
American flag vessel. There's been a couple of Americans that have won it before, but yeah.
Yeah. There was a redress at the end of the race. Just briefly talk about that. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Certainly no two ocean races are alike. Carbon copies of any ocean race past, but ours was particularly crazy. For a host of reasons, but the biggest is probably because we had a incident with another boat outside The Hague in the last leg, and there was a big crash, and we actually couldn't sail the last leg of the race, and ended up having to fix the boat and deliver it to Genoa. And our fate, something that we worked for 10 years, kind of hung in the balance with the international jury, and we were winning the race at the time. We were deemed to be in the right. It was kind of a bit of a freak accident, and the jury chose to award us average points, and in the end we won by 3 points. So basically we were winning, something crazy happened, justice was served, and we won in the end.
Yeah. You're a longtime sailor. You grew up sailing small boats. Obviously, you were a high school national champion, Brown University. How did you get into long distance racing? Because I know your first race was in 2010. Was then the Around the World, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I really got into offshore racing through the Morning Light Project. When I was in college, I did the Transpac race in a program that was put together by Roy Disney. And, for me, that was jumping in with 2 feet. I'd barely been offshore, and then I was doing transoceanic passage. And I just fell in love with being offshore, just the style and kind of leaving everything behind. And it was different and a new challenge. And I've been doing it ever since.
With being gone that long, you obviously have 2 children, a wife, a family. Does that play into the process of maybe doing less and less of those kinds of races?
Yeah. Every time I've been around the world, it's been a different situation for me from like a family perspective. First one I did, I was married, had a wife. Second one, I had 2 kids, but they didn't really have brains. They were young toddlers and didn't really appreciate everywhere we got to go and everything we got to see. And this last time, my kids were 6 and 8 years old, and I think really appreciated the experience that is kind of traveling around the world. But now, serious school beckons, and lacrosse and flag football, and all these things I'm enjoying kind of being a part of at home. So, what the future holds, I don't know.
After winning the ocean race, you obviously had this great opportunity for media to, you do the sort of the blitz. Sailing sometimes gets left behind in the media world. And I'm just wondering, what was it like for you to be able to hit all those shows, and did it have some longevity to it?
Yeah, I think it remains to be seen whether or not it has longevity, but certainly it was pretty cool and interesting for me to be on like the Today Show and CBS Morning and like all these crazy talk shows, The View of all things, with Whoopi Goldberg, wild. But yeah, sailing sometimes does get a bit left behind, I think, when it comes to the media stuff, because it's competing with, at least in the United States, like the big 4. And by that I mean NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. In other countries, it's nationally at least a much bigger deal, and we see that as we travel around the world in all these different places. But I think offshore sailing has the ability to appeal to a different group, because you're not only racing, but you're doing something that's totally crazy. You read about people summiting Everest all the time, and I like to equate it to racing people to the top of Everest. That's what we're doing out there.
Racing up Everest now and almost need an escalator. It's gotten so many permits that they sell. It's gotten to be almost not workable. It's a crazy process. One of the things you guys did with the ocean race, and the environment was a pretty sustainable part of that project. SailGP has done the same thing with what they're trying to figure out the environment, how it fits. As you've sailed around the world, we hear reports, we hear the plastics, we hear all these kinds of things. For a guy who's been in a boat, almost every shore, is it pretty accurate, or are we exaggerating, or where are we with it?
Yeah, The first time, for a lot of reasons, that we went around the world, we didn't really know what we didn't know, and it was really an awakening for us, to a lot of the problems that our oceans are facing, and certainly plastics and what you can see is a big part of that. But I think more globally, it's about what you can't see.
Okay.
Can't see microplastic, you can't see the rise in sea surface temperature, you can't see acidification with your eyes, you can't see sea level, at the shore you can, but certainly not when you're circumnavigating the great big blue marble. But yeah, we're in a pretty precarious situation, certainly when it comes to the health of our oceans, and I think climate change more globally. This last campaign was very focused on, taking that as given, what are we actually going to do about it? So really this campaign, we focused on tangible solutions. What can we do in the boat building process? How can we minimize our team's footprint? How can we compensate for what's been done, but also try to be planet positive in nature? We did a lot of, instead of planting mangroves in Honduras, we did a lot of investment in our supply chain, because you can see that every day, which was really powerful for me as well.
For those who've been involved in that, both Sail GP and this race, it doesn't sound like a marketing play. It sounds like it's a sustainable process to really buy into, because it's real. Sometimes we sort of skate over some of those ideas, but if you read some of your comments and read some of the comments from others who are involved in those programs, it really is valuable.
Oh, I think nobody's better positioned to speak about it and care about it than we are. The ocean is our playing field. It's our race course, and if we don't take care of it, it's not going to be there for us when we want it. But I think, we speak about it quite authentically for a reason. We're very conscious of the fact that we could always be better, so we never want to come across as greenwashing, so to speak. But, sometimes change comes in, small incremental steps. And if we don't start those steps, then we're never going to get anywhere.
I want to talk briefly about the GL 52 series here in the Great Lakes. But I have a quick question, and the question is very simple. How do we get kids in small boats into big boats?
Yeah, I think it starts at kind of the community sailing, yacht club, local level. And I think it sounds funny to say, but just in beer can races on a nightly basis, there's usually people looking for crew, and if you want to go, you can troll the docks, and who cares what your job is? I think if you're looking to ascend in the sport, you have to kind of create your own pathway and take advantage of every opportunity that you can find, and you got to start somewhere. So don't be too proud, I guess.
I love the term beer can. In San Diego, you actually literally had to pass a beer can to your opponent and a beer can back, or it didn't count as a race if you came across the line first.
Sailing is obviously very professional in nature, but we can't lose sight of why we do it. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be inviting. It's supposed to be inclusive. And it's a lifetime sport. You don't see people 80 years old out there dunking a basketball, but you see plenty of 80-year-olds, going out sailing for the day.
And we're at Macataw Bay Yacht Club, and you are on a boat entitled Wizard.
Yep.
You've joined in with the GL 52 Great Lakes 52 class, and how did you get here? And talk a little bit about your campaign.
Yeah, so I've been very lucky to sail with the Wizard team now for 7 or 8 years. And the 52 is a new boat for us. Traditionally we've done offshore races, but the program, believe it or not, has been centered in and around Michigan in its own little way. They used to have a Reichel Pew 74. We won the Chicago Mac twice, once overall, and did the Bayview race once or twice as well. So this is an important part of the world for the program, and it's great that there's high competitive, sailing. The GL fleet will have, I think, 10 boats in August at Harbor Springs, which is remarkable, and it's top notch, and it's great to see it growing, not only here but in other parts of the States as well.
I've said it, I think it's the second best fleet in the world, behind the Super Series in the Mediterranean. I don't think there's a better 52 fleet anywhere.
Yeah, if you're looking for displacement monohull sailing, the Super Series is obviously the pinnacle, and this is right there nipping at its heels.
You like freshwater better than saltwater?
I certainly do. Put a spinnaker in the water today, and it's nice not to have to hose it off.
11th Hour. Talk a little bit about 11th Hour, which is your syndicate. It was you're foiling and around the world. Now you're on a monohull. Are there overlaps? Is it the same? Is it different?
I think in some ways it's different, and in some ways it's the same. A boat's a boat, and you're trying to beat the other guys and gals. But certainly, you can't compete at the same level over the course of an hour in a 52 as you would in an Imoca 60 over a 40-day leg in the Southern Ocean.
Right.
So it's a little bit more of a marathon than it is a sprint. But all the principles are the same. The balance, the power. And I think that's why you see a lot of folks that have sailed around the world competing here in this fleet.
What do you prefer between the two, or are they both? They both provide
I'll
different
tell you
kind of
after this
challenges?
regatta.
Okay.
But I definitely love being offshore. There's just something about it that resonates with me. But it's pretty nice hanging out with 50 of your friends, sailing against them, and being able to sleep in your own bed at night. That's kind of cool too.
The opportunity for professional sailing is really for kids to be able to learn to be professional sailors. It's certainly opened up the last 10 years. There's always been an opportunity, but it's gotten better. Does something like winning the ocean race, does that provide obvious personal opportunities, financial opportunities for you as a sailor?
I think it does, for sure. But at this point, for me, it's a little bit more about kind of growing the sport and creating opportunities for others. There's no pathway for how to become a professional sailor. So the more you can help create those opportunities that we were either lucky enough to find or have created ourselves, I think that's what's important to me now. I mean, for instance, we're sailing with a 20-year-old kid from Michigan State who we found on the docks in Harbor Springs when he was 15 years old. So I think it's important to bring others along for the ride and give them the opportunities that otherwise might not exist.
In doing this series, it's been surprising what we're finding and the quality of sailors that are here. You said Harbor Springs. We spend a ton in the wintertime ski racing there, but there are 4 guys from Harbor Springs, a town of about 2,500. They produce 4 America's Cup guys.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's amazing the talent that's here. And then today you go out on the lake when it's, was it 25 knots today? 20,
Yeah,
25?
high teens, certainly, touching 20.
High 20s. And you watch these guys race, and it's amazing. But sometimes I think the Midwest gets sold short on the talent that's here. I think there's a ton of talent.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's talent all over the country. It's just a big country. It's a matter of getting it all in, one place at the same time to have a good regatta. I think the GL52 has done a good job of that.
Last question. What do you love about sailing?
Leaving land, honestly. Turning the phone off and checking out. Sometimes for a couple hours and sometimes for over a month. Feels good.
Fair to say that if you've had some troubles in the day, you get on the boat and by the time you get back, you're gone?
Oh yeah, definitely. Makes you forget about everything you're leaving behind.
Well, I appreciate your time and best of luck for the season.
Thank you very much.
Well, we just finished about 4.5 hours out on Lake Michigan here in Holland coming in. We always tell guys not to put their sails up coming down the alley, but we're doing about 10 or 12 knots coming in. It's a little crazy. The professionalism of this crew and just the opportunities to talk to these guys and going out is, unless you're on a beast this big, you can't believe how tough it is to stay on the back part of the boat, which is obviously where it's the most difficult to sit. But I almost fell off twice. But I got to thank all the guys from the crew here, and certainly thank Bob Hughes for the ride, and his wife Laura. Appreciate all the stuff that they did. This is some kind of place to enjoy, but I'm not sure I want to get back on a 52. But that'll be for another day. So for those who were around, we appreciate the time, and hope to see you soon.